our first year we went to the Liberty Bowl, right? And we were playing Cincinnati, so they trucked us 45 minutes across town to go somewhere for the Liberty Bowl press conference, and there was one person, so I kind of laughed, and he kept asking questions. I was like, "You in the front row, you in the front row." But yeah, obviously my name is Bob Shoop. I'm the new defensive coordinator, coaching the safeties. I've been here since about early December 8th, right before that first recruiting weekend. I've really enjoyed getting to know the staff, getting to know the players. You know, one of the things coming from my background, I was at 1AA guy for a long, long time. James Franklin got the head coaching job at Vanderbilt and gave a 1AA coach a chance to be a defensive coordinator in the SEC in our 3 years there. You know, we went to 3 straight bowls. You know, had 2 9-win seasons, 2 top 25 finishes. Always had top 20 defenses, put a bunch of guys in the NFL, and James had a chance to go to Penn State, and it was a wonderful experience. Went back and coached at Penn State for 2 years with Coach, went to 2 straight bowls. Again, same sort of thing, had top 10, top 15 defenses, put in numerous players in the NFL. And I really, after having got a taste of SEC football, really aspired to get back to the SEC, and Coach Jones gave me a chance at Tennessee. And in our first year at Tennessee, you know, we went 9-4, beat Florida, beat Georgia, beat Nebraska, beat Virginia Tech. You know, expectations are high at all of these SEC schools, you know, so they expect a little bit more. We won the Music City Bowl that year, had a #1 draft pick in Derek Barnett. And looking back on it with all the injuries and things we had, you know, I thought it was a pretty good coaching job. This past year, you know, at Tennessee, we got off to a 3-1 start. You know, lost a tough one got crushed by Georgia. Lost 15-9 to South Carolina, dropped the pass in the end zone on the last play of the game to be 3-3. Then lost to Alabama, we were 3-4. And then, you know, there's pressure at all these SEC jobs. Everybody's calling for a Coach Jones job and things like that. And these last 6 or 7 weeks were probably the toughest I've ever had to deal with professionally. The last 6 or 7 weeks of that season. My wife and I, when we talked about our future, we said there's only a couple boxes that we want to check. We want to go to a place with great culture. And I found that to be the case here at Mississippi State. From Mr. Cohen to Jared Benko to Joe Moorhead and the staff to the players. I mean, you can see that Coach Mullen in his experience here has coached these guys to 8 straight bowls. I watch these guys play on film. They play hard. I watch them prepare for the bowl game with a skeleton crew. They practiced hard. I've watched them in the weight room. I've watched, you know, our morning workouts. You know, there's a great culture here. And I want to be around good people. And I feel that way about not just the team, not just the coaching staff, but everybody I've met that's been affiliated with Mississippi State Athletics and everybody in Starkville. So I'm appreciative of this opportunity, and I look forward to working with you guys and look forward to being a part of this team, this town, and this family.
Questions, and state your name so Coach can get it.
Coach Steve Robertson with Gene's Page 247. Could you take us through the hiring process, you know, when Joe Moore had reached out to you and kind of how that all kind of came to be?
Yeah. The day Joe and I have known each other for a long time. You know, we both joke we're both Yinzers. We're both from Pittsburgh, really about 10 minutes apart. I'm a lot older than Joe, actually. I'm almost as old as his older brother, Merv. And we played basketball together and kind of knew each other through that. I didn't know Joe that well as a young person. I knew Joe professionally. And, you know, when Coach Franklin made a change at the offensive coordinator at Penn State, you know, I went to him and said, hey, you remember we met Joe Moorhead? You know, he's a guy, he's the head coach at Fordham. He's a guy maybe we ought to think about. And, you know, I'm very, very, very proud that that worked out for Joe. And Joe really did a great job the last 2 years with that offense at Penn State and helping them to, you know, really kind of unrivaled success. So, you know, after the 2 years at Tennessee, you know, obviously Coach Jones was relieved and we were all kind of relieved of our responsibilities. Joe reached out and said, listen, man, don't worry about it these 2 years. I've got this situation in Mississippi State. I've seen what you've done at Vanderbilt. I've seen what you've done at Penn State. I know the type of person you are. Sit tight. And obviously I've known Joe. I've known Charles Huff on the staff. He and I worked together at both Vanderbilt and Penn State. I've known Luke Getzey for a long time. I've known some of the other coaches off and on, but those are the guys that I probably knew the best on the staff. So when he reached out, you know, when you're in a situation like we were at Tennessee, you're anxious. But I knew Joe, if he reached out and said, hey, sit tight, it's going to work out, I was very, very confident that sit tight, it's going to work out. And, you know, let me say this, I'm appreciative to Joe of this opportunity and look forward to making the most of it. I really like the staff he's assembled. Good husband, good people, good men, teachers, leaders, role models. You know, I think to the young men on our team, good husbands, good fathers. I really like our defensive staff. You know, I'm excited that we were able to retain Bake, and I'm really excited that we were able to retain Buck. They've been a great resource for me, learning the lay of the land, the landscape of things here. I think you guys are going to really like Tem Lukabu, the linebacker coach we've hired from the 49ers. And really our young coaches, our GAs and quality control guys are guys that I knew the best. A.J. Jackson, who's our assistant D-line coach, who was with us at Penn State. Naeem Mortonman, who's our assistant linebacker coach, who was a linebacker for us at Penn State. Will Ryman, who worked with me as my defensive assistant, was a GA at Penn State these past 2 years. And Mark Powell. Mark Powell will work with the secondary. He's a GA from the secondary. His grandfather was Carm Cozy, just passed this past month, who was my college coach. So I was glad to have the opportunity to finally work with Mark. So I think it's a group of good people. So that was a long answer to your question. Correct. Okay, that's it. Sure.
Logan Lowry, Tupelo Daily Journal. Just how would you kind of describe your defensive philosophy to the fan base?
Yeah, you know, I think, like I said, I mean, of the past 9 seasons, going back to William and Mary, Vanderbilt, Penn State, and Tennessee, I've coached, you know, top 25 units 7 of those 9 seasons, and I always say that what we're striving to have, it's personnel driven rather than scheme driven. You know, the players. The unique thing here is there's been so much stability with Coach Mullen, but there really has been instability with regard to the defensive staff. The guys who are 5th-year players in this team, I'm their 5th defensive coordinator, which is kind of strange. You know, the guys who are 4th-year players, I'm their 4th-year defensive coordinator. Between Manny Diaz, between Jeff Collins, between Peter Sermon, and Coach Grantham, you know, so it's really kind of unusual. So they've seen a lot of different schemes. They've seen a lot of different, you know, identities and philosophies and things like that. So rather than recruit players to fit a scheme, you try to tailor your scheme to what your players can do. The analogy that I use is LeBron James in basketball. I say, what position does he play? And everybody says, well, he plays them all. Well, that's right. I mean, you know, if you have LeBron James on your team, you're going to utilize him in different ways that you might use a different player. So, you know, but what is non-negotiable to us is we're going to be in your face. I truly believe in that, and that's something that's important to me. You know, build on relentless pursuit and never-ending pressure. That's what we talk about all the time. And we fell short playing to that style play at times at Tennessee. I don't think we were as consistent as I'd like this to be. But the things that are important to me are having the ability to stop the run, having the ability to eliminate chunk plays, explosive plays, and having the ability to create takeaways and be disruptive. Tackles for loss and sacks are something that are important to me. And you know, the phrase we've adopted on the defensive side of the ball is hunt. HTB, hunt the ball. That's what we want to do. We want to hunt the ball in everything that we're doing. And thus far in our, you know, handful of weeks working with the guys, that's the mindset, the vision we've tried to create for those guys. And I'm looking forward to seeing that vision play out on the field this spring as we lay the foundation for this team.
And your impressions of the personnel that you're inheriting?
I'm a pretty lucky guy. You know, I think we have really good depth up front. You know, obviously people talk about Jeffrey Simmons and Montez Sweat, and deservedly so. They're really, really good football players. And my experience has been even just as good of people, too. But, you know, I think guys this year are going to be excited to watch a guy like Gary Green. You know, I think he's going to be playing a little different role than maybe what he played before. And there's a whole bunch of guys up front. We can run 8, 9, 10 guys up front. We have as much depth up front as any place I've ever been. And I don't feel like there's a significant drop-off between a lot of those guys. In the secondary, I feel sort of the same way. There's great competition at the corner position. You know, obviously Peters, Danzler, and Rayford played a lot last year, but you know, Tyler Williams is a guy who redshirted and has a great deal of potential. And there's some other good young players. You know, Marcus Murphy's made a great impression as an early enrollee these first few weeks on campus. And at the safety position, I mean, you know, again, I think it's a unique situation that you have some good quality depth there. I think you've got you know, John Abram obviously played a lot last year and did well. Mark McLaurin, you know, has had a good season to me. And when I observe him, he's taken his bowl game, and it's just helped him grow. His confidence grows significantly. And you know, I didn't know him prior to this, but I get the impression that he's even a different person. He's taken the leadership role to the next level. It's been exciting. Brandon Bryant's played a lot of football for us, And Brian Cole, excuse me, is you know, a guy who again did not play last year, but is a junior college guy who played some football at Michigan, who has some promise at either the corner, the nickel, or the safety position as well. Linebacker maybe not as deep, but the players that we have there are pretty impressive. I really like Errol Thompson. I think he was the leading freshman tackler in the SEC last year, and I think I've really enjoyed getting to know him as the middle linebacker. He'd be the signal caller of the defense. And obviously Leo Lewis and Willie Gay have played a lot and are really, really, you know, talented individuals and have made a good first impression. So, you know, the impression's been 3 winter workouts and a whole bunch of weight training sessions and a handful of meetings. But I think that the pieces are in place, that there's some potential here to be a really good unit.
Brett Hudson with the Commercial Dispatch. You mentioned not as deep at linebacker, but very deep on the defensive line. Does that likely mean a 4 down front most of the time?
Yeah, I mean, I think I probably didn't answer the. I mean, yeah, I think I'm not. My base is more out of a 4 down than a 3 down, 3-4. However, you know, in today's game with all the substitution packages, teams playing 3 and 4 wide receivers, you know, a lot of teams are playing nickel concepts and things along those lines. So, you know, basically out of a 4 down, but that doesn't mean we can't stem to a 3-4 at different times. It doesn't mean we can't do different things with unique athletes like, you know, Montez Sweat, Gary Green, and Marquise Spencer, and those guys who have played out on the edge and done those different things. So we're still trying to sort through things. You know, we're just laying the foundation, and to me, that's what the spring's all about. The spring, to me, isn't. I always use the phrase techniques over tactics. It's not so much about X's and O's and schemes. It's about identifying the hand you've been dealt, allowing your players to show what they're capable of doing. I want to come out after these 15 days of spring ball and say, this player is good at these 3 or 4 things. Let's put him in a position to make plays. This player is good at these handful of things. Put him in a position to make plays. It's about identifying individual strengths and placing them in positions to be successful. And versatility and multiplicity are part of what we're trying to do. And you know, and as you get even into the back end and things like that, we have hybrid guys, like you said. I mean, Sweat, Green, Marquise, those guys are hybrid D-end outside linebackers. You got guys like Abram, Bryant, Cole, Landrews, who may be hybrid safeties, nickels, can do a lot of different things. So positional versatility and the ability to use guys in different ways is something that is kind of exciting to me.
That's it. All right.
You guys are easy.